My presentation was done on a flipped classroom's effect of student motivation in 4th and 5th graders. What is a flipped classroom? A flipped classroom is where a teacher reverses what you expect to see in the classroom and at home. Normally, students learn and apply everything in the classroom with small homework assignments at home to help the students really practice the material. In a flipped classroom, the students would be doing the learning at home and then coming to school and applying it. So how is this accomplished? When the students are at home, they are expected to watch and interact with slideshows, video lectures, quizzes, and discussions. When they get to school, they are expected to immediately begin applying it through collaborative projects. So why is this important? Why should teachers use a flipped classroom model? Well, the idea behind using a flipped classroom is that it engages the students more while in the class. Therefore, more can be accomplished during the classroom time. It is also supposed to free up more classroom time because part of the learning is being done at home. Not everything has to be accomplished during the classroom time. My problem statement for this was, does a flipped classroom increase classroom motivation in 4th and 5th grade students? The purpose of the study was to find out if the students are more motivated in a flipped classroom. If there is an increase in the classroom motivation for the students in a flipped classroom, this will provide evidence for the need for more professional development on the concept, so that more teachers could utilize a flipped classroom. If the data does not show an increase in motivation, then more research needs to be done before teachers begin using it in their classroom. My research question was, does a flipped classroom approach to teaching increase the classroom motivation of 4th and 5th grade students at Wayne Trail Elementary during this 2017 and 2018 school year? So for this project, my dependent variable was each group of students' classroom motivation level before and after the study, and the independent variable was the use of a flipped classroom or a traditional classroom model. And my hypothesis was a flipped classroom approach will help the students be more motivated in the classroom. The research design for this project was an action research study. It is an experimental quantitative study. I used the pre and post test control design because the students took a questionnaire before and after the study. And the study looked at the students' feelings and motivation towards the class and work. I used 2 5th grade classrooms and 2 4th grade classrooms from Wayne Trail Elementary for the study. 55 of the students were male and 45 were female. And the group was 80% white, 10% African American, 5% Asian, and 5% mixed races. The study also included 23 students on IEP and 7 ELL students. And I used convenient sampling because the classes were within my school. I did not have to go outside of the school. I used teachers who were willing to try the flipped classroom model. Before beginning the study, I met with each of the teachers. I wanted to get a better idea of how they plan to run their classroom during the study. I asked the teachers who were planning to do a flipped classroom model a few questions. How much time do you expect your students to spend learning the material outside of the classroom weekly? What type of activities will you provide for your students to help them learn the material at home? What type of activities will you provide for them in the classroom to have them show what they have learned? And what are you going to do if a student appears to not be doing the work outside of the classroom time? Overall, their answers were very similar. They were going to mostly provide videos since it's a fourth and fifth graders. It would be more interactive for them. They would pay more attention. Some of the teachers were going to create their own videos. Others had some from websites they were going to use. The videos would be about 5-6 minutes long, at most 10 minutes, nothing longer, because then the students would lose focus. And they assumed that they would probably post at least a video a night for the students to watch. During classroom time, they would be getting together immediately with their groups to work on a project that would have them use what they had learned the night before. And if the students were doing what they were supposed to be doing, they were going to clip them down, take away extra recess, and contact parents. The questions for the traditional classroom teachers were very similar. Are your students expected to do any homework at home? If so, how much time do you expect them to spend weekly on homework? What type of homework do you assign weekly? What types of activities do you do with your students in the classroom? And how do you handle the students who do not seem to be participating in the classroom activities? Most of the teachers usually assign a small packet of homework on Monday that's due on Friday, so the students can work on it at any amount of time they want during the week. The types of activity they do in the classroom usually consist of PowerPoints, some notes, reading, and small web quests and research projects if they have time. And handling their students was very similar to the flipped classroom approach. It would be clipping down, loss of recess, contacting parents if they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. I gave the students in the class each a questionnaire before the study started, and I gave them the same questionnaire after the study concluded in order to compare the results. The questionnaire was 10 questions long and focused on the students' feelings and motivation towards the class. So this was the survey I gave to the students. Like I said, I only made it 10 questions long so they wouldn't lose focus. But on the line, they had to write either a 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. A 1 means they strongly agreed, and a 5 means, or 1 means they strongly disagree, and a 5 means they strongly agree. Number 1, it is important for me to learn what is being taught in this class. 2, I like what I am learning in this class. 3, I am certain I can understand the ideas taught in this course. 4, I think I will be able to use what I learn in this class in other classes. 5, I expect to do well in this class. 6, I am sure I can do an excellent job on the problems and tasks assigned for this class. 7, I think what we are learning in this class is interesting. 8, I know that I will be able to learn the material for this class. 9, understanding the subject is important to me. And 10, I find that when the teacher is talking, I pay attention. This was an easy survey for the students to fill out because the directions were very similar to questionnaires that the district administers every year for the students to fill out on school culture, so they already know what to do. And the survey was only 10 questions long, so the students would not lose focus and start choosing random answers just to get it done. So I interviewed each teacher before starting the study to get a better idea of how they would run their classroom. The students were then given a 10-question questionnaire about their motivation for the class before beginning the study. The study was conducted for 2 weeks. 2 classes, 1 5th grade and 1 4th grade class, began the flipped classroom model, while 2 classes, 1 5th grade, 1 4th grade, continued the traditional classroom model. And at the conclusion of the study, the students were given the same 10-question questionnaire to complete the study and compare the results. All 100 students took the survey that was given before the students began. I created a pie chart for each question and each group of students, flipped versus traditional. And after the study, all of the students took the same questionnaire again. Once all of the data had been collected and graphed, I used the information to make an easy-to-follow table. This allowed me to see how each question, how the answers changed for each group. The questions for the questionnaire were phrased in a positive way, meaning by answering strongly agree, then you have a strong classroom motivation. Overall, there were no consistency in the answers or the change in data. For the students in a traditional classroom, some of the questions showed an increase in classroom motivation and others did not. This was one example. The question for question number 1 is, it is important for me to learn what is being taught in this class. And you can see this is the traditional before beginning the study, and you have a lot of strongly agree. And if you looked at the classroom flipped model approach students before the study began, you don't have as many strongly disagree. When we looked at the after approach, you actually see that the strongly disagree in the traditional classroom decreased, and in a flipped classroom, the strongly disagree actually increased, which shouldn't be seen if the flipped classroom was making the students more motivated in the class. Over here for question 6, I am sure I can do an excellent job on the assigned task. This traditional one, you can see there are a lot of strongly disagree. Same with over here. And then when we move over, they both decreased. So the data that I collected for the study did not support my hypothesis that a flipped classroom would increase the motivation of the students in the classroom. There were some limitations to this study. The first one being I am only one person and was not in each of the classrooms every day to monitor what was happening in the room. I only knew what was going on in the room based on what teachers told me before the study started. The students were not selected based on their access to technology. The students were randomly selected. So if the students didn't have access to technology, that could affect what they were able to do at home if they were using the flipped classroom model. If there were students in the flipped classroom who did not have access to the outside resources and did not find a way to get access through other avenues, such as using computers at the public library, they were truly not experiencing a flipped classroom, which in turn could affect their classroom motivation. My study doesn't necessarily mean that a flipped classroom does not increase classroom motivation in 4th and 5th grade students. My study was only 2 weeks long, and it only used a total of 100 students at my school. I think this proves that there needs to be more research done on a flipped classroom's effect on elementary school children to see if it truly does help their motivation or if it really does not affect them.